来唱一首牛什么牛，送给我财神哥哥，感谢我财神哥哥的大力支持，么么哒！牛财神哥牛，30个萝莉卡永久黄马，今天是星期天最后一天的时间啊！希望大家如果愿意支持的宝宝们，大家可以多多支持一下啊！这实在是不行啊，这实在是不行！感谢朵宝贝，谢谢，感谢朵宝贝的148什么的广东人，来管理报一下啊！刷了30个就包上来卡个永久黄马。你呀牛什么牛？你牛你牛。好吗？上2图520，瞬间就变成13万了。感谢我财神哥哥，谢谢3个么么哒。曲子不对啊，对啊，这是伴奏版的，这是伴奏，给广东人上黄。走出相思的困惑，做燃烧的爱火，你用高度想把我诱惑，亲爱的青春怎让你折磨，在邂逅的结果，最怕寂寞的承诺，你用过气想把我迷惑，我的精心在水边拍拖。你牛什么牛？你牛什 说爱我想你，怎么啦？走天涯好久没有唱了，走天涯还是闯天涯？知道你。
Không lo nóng trong người, tươi tắn bên ngoài. Bạn trúng nghệ, ăn cay nóng. Bạn luôn tươi tắn. Trà thanh nhiệt Dr. Thanh với 9 loại thảo mộc giúp bạn luôn tươi tắn bên ngoài, mọi lúc mọi nơi. Dậy cực nóng, bạn luôn tươi tắn. Vận động ngoài trời nóng, bạn luôn tươi tắn. Quẩy cùng nhiệt, bạn luôn tươi tắn. Uống trà thanh nhiệt Dr. Thanh, không lo nóng trong người, tươi tắn bên ngoài.
你在说什么？好热，救命！西海情歌，点了直播通知，回家给你们唱了。泰罗，你们点歌看不见，点一下下面的直播通知，谢谢。从来不愿命运地上，从来不愿没有避风港，向着那梦中的地方去远航，寻找我梦中的天堂。谢谢。人生本来太多的感伤，不必再让眼泪成两行。天涯的路上，谁陪我乘凉？爱我的人等我在远方。我唱着情歌，一路向远方，就让我望望天，勇敢的去闯，望不断天涯路，望不断苍茫，我才不怕为了理想守在那边上。我唱着情歌，一路向远方，死也要死在闯荡的路上，望不断天涯路，望不断苍茫，就让月光陪我在路上。喜欢小米的宝宝们，大家点一下下面的直播通知，在手指的方向往下面点一下直播通知，谢谢大家，么么哒。天涯路漫长，我也要去闯。人生本来太多的感伤，不必再让眼泪成两行。天涯的路上，谁陪我乘凉？爱我的人等我在远方。我唱着情歌，一路向远方，就让我望望天，勇敢的去闯，望不断天涯路，望不断苍茫，我才不怕为了理想守在那边上。我唱着情歌，一路向远方，死也要死在闯荡的路上，望不断天涯路，望不断苍茫，就让月光陪我在路上。我唱着情歌，一路向远方，就让我望望天，勇敢的去闯，望不断天涯路，望不断苍茫，我才不怕为了理想守在那边上。我唱着情歌，一路向远方，死也要死在闯荡的路上，望不断天涯路，望不断苍茫，就让月光陪我在路上，就让月光陪我在路上。
Đây là dấu mốc cho một hành trình chinh phục. Đây là giấc mơ của hàng triệu con tim. Đây là hành trình được thắp lửa bằng vô vàn khát khao và nỗ lực. Hành trình được nuôi dưỡng bằng niềm tin và khát khao chiến thắng.
Bây giờ đã bạch hay quá, đáng làm quay lại đi con.
Đây là giấc mơ lớn của cả dân tộc. Đây là lúc chúng ta chiến
đấu vì ngôi sao trong tim mỗi chúng ta. Khó khăn chỉ khiến đam mê thêm rực cháy.
Nào mà còn 19, nói cái gì? Quay lại cũng vậy nè.
Thử thách giúp thắp thêm lửa đam mê. Vì quanh tôi luôn có những đồng đội nhiệt thành. Có đồng đội tôi không ngại ngần tiến bước.
Nhanh lên, đi coi Việt Nam đá.
Sắp tới rồi mà bơi nhanh lên.
Có đồng đội tôi cháy bỏng đam mê. Có đồng đội mọi chiến thắng luôn ngập tràn ý nghĩa. Mọi thử thách chỉ là bước chạy đà cho tất cả những quan tiếp nối và mọi giấc mơ luôn đón chờ ta chinh phục. Dù bạn là ai, dù bạn ở đâu, hãy dám mơ và dám theo đuổi. Giấc mơ lớn luôn cần một trái tim lớn để thắp lửa đam mê và được cháy mỗi ngày.
LG cùng Việt Nam thắp lửa những giấc mơ. LG OLED TV, tất cả OLED đều bắt đầu từ LG.
唱一个不要停。有没有人刷个60的爆文堂不要停的？配合一下我的歌曲嘛。进你的心里，理想的我却始终没有勇气，在梦里一遍遍呼唤你的姓名，期待远方的你会有感应，偷偷地凝望着你的身影，不敢看你柔情似水的眼睛，就这样一天天虚度着光阴，直到听到那一句我爱你。不要不要不要不要不要停，把你的爱大声说给我听，当寂寞的心灵它越靠越近，难道这就是传说的爱情？不要不要不要不要不要停，把你的心继续说给我听，当久违的幸福它悄悄降临，便是那最佳证明。不要停。哇，感谢我们的献花哥哥才的66，不要停不要停不要停，减肥。咱们扭个屁股，大屁股，好肥呀！我真的要减肥，我是在自黑。肥，感谢我的谢谢哥哥。一直想要走进你的心里，理想的我却始终没有勇气，在梦里一遍遍呼唤你的姓名，期待远方的你会有感应，偷偷地凝望着你的身影，不敢看你柔情似水的眼睛，就这样一天天虚度着光阴。感谢400哥哥，我爱你，400哥。不要不要不要不要不要停，把你的爱大声说给我听，当寂寞的心灵它越靠越近，难道这就是传说的爱情？不要不要不要不要不要停，把你的心继续说给我听，当久违的幸福它悄悄降临， 不要停，都可以站住，不要停，站住，我们要嗨起来啦！不要停，不要。月底冲任务了，不要停，腿太粗了，我整个人都是粗的，大哥，不要这么夸奖我了，真的，我都不好意思了，我已经在减肥了，我站着唱歌就是为了减肥，不要停啊！一直想要走进你的心里，泪想难忘，其实终没有勇气，在梦里一遍遍呼唤你的姓名，期待远方的你会有感应，偷偷的凝望着你的身影，不敢看你柔情似水的眼睛，谢谢，就这样一天天虚度着光阴，直到听到那一句我爱你，感谢各位么么哒，不要不要不要不要不要停，把你的爱大声说给我听，当寂寞的心灵它越靠越近，难道这就是传说的爱情？不要不要不要不要不要停，把你的心举起说给我听，当久违的幸福啊！离开前的礼物，你要去哪里呀？不要停，没时间上了。我看花开哥也说没时间上了，你也没时间上了，你们真的要散伙了？我的天，就丢下我一个人，没一个人管我了。等有空了再来。我靠，我也走了，兄弟们，离别前的歌，离别前的歌送给你们。我是胖了，我承认我胖了，确实胖，胖就胖点吧，胖也有胖人喜欢。一直想要走进你的心里，我没有肚子，你看这样子看就知道，哎，不行，没有肚子，只是胖了而已，长宽了而已，但是没有肚子。哎，偷偷的凝望着你的身影，不敢看你柔情似水的眼睛，就这样一天天虚度着光阴，直到听到那一句我爱你。不要不要不要不要不要停，把你的心举起说给我听，当寂寞的心灵它越靠越近，难道这就是传说的爱情？不要不要不要不要不要停，把你的心举起说给我听，当久违的幸福它悄悄降临，眼泪便是了最佳证明。
They cannot kill justice. Burn all deceivers. I was purified in the light. My sword is named Virtue, and it burns eternal. The celestial realm awaits. Their deeds shall be weighed on the scales of stars.
Ai có thể lên bảng đọc cho cô những từ này nào?
Ngồi xuống đi. Đây. Cười vui quá ha. Em đứng lên đọc cho cô nghe coi.
Star, Strawberry, Thailand, Computer, Station.
Dạ thưa cô, em xin đọc. Dạ, Star, Strawberry, Computer, Toilet, Station.
Bí quyết nào có thể khiến em phát âm chuẩn xác đến vậy?
Dạ thưa cô, đó chính là Elsa, trợ thủ đắc lực nói tiếng Anh bớt cực.
I am anointed in the fire of absolution. I am born from the flame of their sins.
你走得好干脆，我数了眼泪，忘不掉你的好，咽下苦涩滋味。曾经的誓言无悔，为何轻易破碎？你要用分手结尾，我无路可退。你说的无所谓，我伤得了
I am
泪
the。light and the glory.
卸下我所有防卫，死了心面对。伤害的话找不回，别再爱的虚伪，最后骗自己骗到撕心裂肺。你把爱情给了谁？不管我憔悴，哭红眼睛挽不回，心一点点碎。你把爱情给了谁？不再给我安慰，为你伤悲，为你醉，还一步
the new term. No more clinic, no more drama.
Can't give it up.
Move to move on, so have I.
If you let me back in, I won't have any.
Our bodies do things with no control over, but we can always control being truthful.
This is entirely about the money.
It's good to be back in business.
Không lo nóng trong người, tươi tắn bên ngoài. Bạn chống nhiệt, ăn cay nóng. Bạn luôn tươi tắn. Trà thanh nhiệt Dr. Thanh với 9 loại thảo mộc giúp bạn luôn tươi tắn bên ngoài, mọi lúc mọi nơi. Dậy cực nóng, bạn luôn tươi tắn. Vận động ngoài trời nóng, bạn luôn tươi tắn. Quẩy cùng nhiệt, bạn luôn tươi tắn. Uống trà thanh nhiệt Dr. Thanh, không lo nóng trong người, tươi tắn bên ngoài.
如果还有什么值得我逗留，我像是你爱过，其实离开尽头都是路过，什么感受我能带走？眼泪可以不流，心碎不能救，看我能否得自由。当我松开你的手，一些风沙哽住眼眸，爱你最后一幕却模糊带过，不让疼痛有路追究。我不后悔我曾爱过，只是天涯从此寂寞，远去的渡口，彼岸的灯火，人在河流继续漂泊。我不后悔被你爱过，只是不能爱到最后。短暂的幸福拥有就足够，只要舍得就会快乐，会快乐。是路尽头都是路过，什么感受我能带走？眼泪可以不流，心碎不能救，看我能否得自由。当我松开你的手，一些风沙哽住眼眸，爱你最后一幕却模糊带过，不让疼痛有路追究。我不后悔我曾爱过，只是天涯从此寂寞，远去的渡口，彼岸的灯火，人在河流继续漂泊。我不后悔被你爱过，只是不能爱到最后。短暂的幸福拥有就足够，只要舍得就会快乐，会快乐。我不后悔我曾爱过，只是天涯从此寂寞，远去的渡口，彼岸的灯火，人在河流继续漂泊。我不后悔被你爱过，只是不能爱到最后。短暂的幸福拥有就足够，只要舍得就会快乐，会快乐。
而退，爱情已经已无所谓。
Minions have spawned.
My journey led me here. fists are my weapons. My spirit rests. They see only a blind man. I will open their eyes. I return to my meditations. Never again will arrogance lead me astray.
We are the keepers of Behold. This is our home. A home we pledge to protect. We are the caretakers of her wonders. We appreciate and respect her gifts today, ensuring our children will enjoy them tomorrow. We are the guardians of her secrets and her hidden treasures. As a community, we work together, sharing not just her beauty, but also her lessons. The care you give is the care you take. Be one with us. Let's make a pledge to keep this island a paradise. We are all keepers of Behold.
忘记。我真的不想今生失去了你，你就是我今生爱情的奇迹。不管未来怎样的结局，只想好好珍惜眼前的你。我真的不想今生失去了你，你就是我今生爱情的真谛。不管未来有多少风雨，我爱你爱得已死心塌地。我真的不想今生失去了你，你就是我今生爱的奇迹。不管未来怎样的结局，只想好好珍惜眼前的你。我真的不想今生失去了你，你就是我今生爱情的真谛。不管未来有多少风雨，我爱你爱得已死心塌地。我爱你爱得已死心塌地。
The dragon sleeps for now.
Chant Quasimodo. Mon dos est une selle, mes yeux des phares de sanglots. Mon dominium, profilé comme une duc à fluo. Je m'envole vers toi, loin des nuages qui sortent de mon pot. Mon dominium, elle met la gomme, elle roule au tempo. Une rivière sauvage, un fuselage tissé de peau. Avec toi, j'aimerais comme ça, une feuille de turbo. Et on s'envole déjà dans les nuages qui s'effacent comme c'est beau.
Offers me another chance.
You're not my real dad.
Turret plating will soon fall.
The dragon spirit is not magic. It is life, more ancient than ours.
Can't leave. You are just a boycito.
Chant Quasimodo. Mon dos est une selle, mes yeux des phares de sang. Profil comme une duc à fluo. Je m'envole vers toi, loin des nuages qui sortent de mon pot. Mon dominium, elle met la
想今生失去了你，你就是我今生爱情的奇迹。不管未来怎样的结局，只想好好珍惜眼前的你。我真的不想今生失去了你，你就是我今生爱情的真谛。不管未来有多少风雨，我爱你爱得已死心塌地。天边的那一道彩云，刻录着我们爱的意境。就在那个9月的秋天，分手的季节，我们相遇。就在这茫茫人海里，感谢老天赐给了我一个你。你对我万千种爱的情谊，让我今生今世难以忘记。我真的不想今生失去了你，你就是我今生爱情的奇迹。不管未来怎样的结局，只想好好珍惜眼前的你。我真的不想今生失去了你，你就是我今生爱情的真谛。不管未来有多少风雨，我爱你爱得已死心塌地。我真的不想今生失去了你，你就是我今生爱的奇迹。不管未来怎样的结局，只想好好珍惜眼前的你。我真的不想今生失去了你，你就是我今生爱情的真谛。不管未来有多少风雨，我爱你爱得已死心塌地。我爱你爱得已死心塌地。
The dragon spirit offers.
为什么我们相遇网络？为什么要拿虚拟对待我？我和你在一起，在一起的甜蜜，这份爱被埋在我心底。我和你相爱网络里，爱来爱去都变成回忆。你的心我最懂，你不急我陪你，这辈子注定与你在一起。大声喊出我爱你，时刻把你放心底，不怕网络的虚拟，等着你。点击鼠标的亲昵，传达爱你的蜜语，在心里从此永远有个你。谢谢你让我遇到你，谢谢你也让我爱上你。不管风风雨雨，不问明天在哪里，我都会永远陪伴你。
Failure has not stopped me before. It will not now.
上个天蓝吧。来，让我们的小橘子辛苦一下，给大家接着上黄，好不好？10个巧克力就可以卡黄马，还可以加微信。10个巧克力，好吧，把它放上去。我已经看见有很多人加我了，我下直播的时候我一一的给你们通过，好不好？手上巧克力就折起来，只要10个巧克力就可以卡黄马加微信，6块啊，60多块钱。天蓝蓝，秋潮像是心中的天堂，谁把思念画一双翅膀？敞开你胸膛，新的传说的愿望，就校外飘散最等你的悠扬。天蓝蓝，秋朝黄，反映水的流长。谁把思念远远的眺望？暖暖的阳光让我钟情的幻想。9天外是那最缠人的光芒。可以吃饭，可以吃饭。若变成美丽的骏马，和你驰骋在天涯。林哥，你杀出了串巧克力。在若美丽的晚霞，让它盛开在天涯。我的心被融化，梦想就会到达。直播没有时间回私聊微信啊，加了微信回你们话的都是骗子啊！我会一一的下直播给你们通过。谢谢我们的听风说，感谢听风说哥哥，谢谢喜欢小虾虾，橘子给我卡上吧。秋潮像是心中的天堂，谁把思念画一双翅膀？的传说的愿望，就校外飘散最动听的悠扬。若变成美丽的骏马，和你驰骋在天涯，一起守候不老的神话和传说，永不掉落。再多美丽的晚霞，让它盛开在天涯。 的心被融化，梦想就会到达。让我变成美丽的骏马，和你驰骋在天涯，一起守候不老的神话和传说，永不掉落。再多美丽的晚霞，让它盛开在天涯。我的心被融化，梦想就会到达。让我变成美丽的骏马，和你驰骋在天涯，一起守候不老的神话和传说，永不掉落。再多美丽的晚霞，让它盛开在天涯。我的心被融化，梦想就会到达。让我变成美丽的骏马，和你驰骋在天涯，一起守候不老的神话和传说，永不掉落。再多美丽的晚霞，让它盛开在天涯。我的心被融化，梦想就会到达。只要10个巧克力就可以卡到勇者的皇马，还可以加微信哦。感谢大家的支持。球场像是心中的天堂，谁把思念画翅膀，是天边的向往。啦啦啦啦啦啦啦啦啦啦啦蓝的阳光，秋天外嘛情悠扬，是最闪耀的光芒。天蓝蓝，球场像是心中的天堂，谁把思念画翅膀，是天边的向往。啦啦啦啦啦啦啦啦啦啦蓝的阳光，秋天外嘛情悠扬，是最闪耀的光芒。这首歌叫天蓝蓝，送给你们。腰好痛，你妹吗？应该是我妹吧。挡住了没看见，刚刚是谁刷的？不用抱下去，就放上面好了。为什么要抱下去？你不嫌麻烦吗？放上面就放着呗。谢谢刚刚上巧克力的哥哥，谢谢你。来管理报。
Quiet steps.
Trà xanh công độ không lo căng thẳng mệt mỏi, giải nhiệt cuộc sống. Nắng nóng, đường xa.
Trời ơi, homestay mình bút đây á. Căng thẳng mệt mỏi quá.
Hãy uống trà xanh công độ. Từ những lá trà xanh Thái Nguyên, dầu chất EGCC chống oxy hóa, cho bạn sảng khoái. Cùng giải nhiệt cuộc sống, cùng sảng khoái. Cùng trà xanh công độ bên ngôi nhà thiên nhiên, ta sẽ có phút giây thư giãn với bạn bè. Trà xanh công độ, không lo căng thẳng mệt mỏi, giải nhiệt cuộc sống.
Mới, trà sữa macchiato không độ, làm từ lá trà Thái Nguyên và sữa thơm béo, ngon khó cưỡng.
손을 잡고 눈을 맞출 때 늦은 밤 집에 널 데려다 줄 때 시간들이 끝나버릴까봐 겁이 나 숨쉬는 시간조차 아까워 시계바늘은 참는지도 없지 괜히 애꿎은 시계 탓을 할 때 그런 날 보고 넌 또 반겨두지 이런 널 어떻게 보내 참 빠르게 흘러가고 지나간 내일을 아쉬워하고 아직도 아직도 적응을 못해 편하게 해줄 것 같은데 시계발 내리는 게 삶아서 널 볼때 그네 시간 끌면서 너에게만 걸때 그런 날 보고 또 방긋웃지 이런 널 어떻게 보내 나는 너와 더 함께 있고 싶어 more 아주 천천히 그 숨을 쉴래 널 노래할 수 있게 시간은 틱톡톡톡톡 나에겐 오직 너 숨이 막히도록 숨을 참을래 내가 널 영원히 볼 수 있게 셔터 안에 놓여져 있는 우리들처럼 모든 게 멈춰버린 듯이 오늘 네 앞에 있을까 숨을 쉬게 baby 너를 볼수록 숨이 점점 막혀와 그런데 난 그 느낌이 싫지가 않아 천천히 숨을 쉬게 baby 너와 더 함께 있고 싶어 more 아주 천천히 숨을 쉴래 널 노래할 수 있게 시간은 틱톡톡톡톡 나에겐 오직 너 숨이 막히도록 숨을 참을래 내가 널 영원히 볼 수 있게
Inhibitor has been destroyed.
看小苹果，我怎么看小苹果？
追小妖哥哥，我的守护呢？我种下一颗种子，终于长出了果实。今天是个伟大日子，在下星星送给你，在下月亮送给你，让太阳每天为你升起。点燃蜡烛，燃烧自己，只为照亮你。把我一切都献给你，只要你欢喜。你让我每个明天都充满了意义。生命是的爱你，永远不离不弃。你是我的小呀小苹果，怎么爱你我都不嫌多。红红的笑脸温暖我的心窝，点亮我生命的火。你是我的小呀小苹果，就像天边最美的云朵。春天又来到了，花开满山坡，种下希望就会收获。好不好听？你还差443吧，5203我起。从不觉得你讨厌，你的一切都喜欢，有你的每天都新鲜。有你阳光更灿烂，有你黑夜不黑暗。你是白云，我是蓝天。春天和你漫步在盛开的花丛间，夏天夜晚陪你一起看星星眨眼，秋天黄昏与你畅游间刺，冬天雪花飞舞有你更加温暖。你是我的小呀小苹果，怎么爱你我都不嫌多。感谢飞龙哥送来的 I love you， 谢谢 Thank you， 点亮我生命的火。你是我的小呀小苹果，欢迎太极哥哥回家。美的云朵，春天又来到了，花开满山坡，种下希望就会收获。999守护吗？是的，这小妖哥哥。小米的普通话过了几级啊？ 过了3集。你是我的小呀小苹果，怎么爱你我都不嫌多。红红的小脸温暖我的心窝，点亮我生命的火，火。你是我的小呀小苹果。谢谢太极哥哥，谢谢。在假唱有意思吗？有啊。花开满山坡，种下希望就会收获。谢谢太极哥哥送的612 I love you。好声音啊，好声音，我唱了几首歌。小徒弟啊，从来不愿避云之上，从来不愿没有避风港，向着老梦中的地方去远航，寻找我梦中的天堂。人生本来太多的感伤，不必再让眼泪成两行。天涯的路上，谁陪我乘凉？爱我的人等我在远方。我唱着情歌，一路向远方，就让我望望天，勇敢的去闯，望不断天涯路，望不断苍茫，我才不怕为了理想受的那点伤。我唱着情歌，一路向远方，死也要死在闯荡的路上，望不断天涯路，望不断苍茫，就让月光陪我在路上。
什么伤，什么是感伤？天涯的路上跟我闯，天当美地当场，勇气伴我走四方。不要慌张，随便放弃心中的理想，天涯路漫长，我也要去闯。
人生本来太多的感伤，不必再让眼泪成两行。天涯的路上，谁陪我乘凉？爱我的人等我在远方。我唱着情歌，一路向远方，就让我望望天，勇敢的去闯，望不断天涯路，望不断苍茫。
not singing anything. All I need is someone who makes me wanna sing. Take me to your heart, take me to your soul. Give me your hand before I'm old. Show me what love is, haven't got a clue. Show me that wonders can be true. They say nothing lasts forever. We're only here today. Love is now or never. Bring me far away. Take me to your heart, take me to your soul. Give me your hand and hold me. Show me what love is. Be my guiding star. It's easy. Take me to your heart. Take me to your heart. Take me to your soul. Give me your hand and hold me. Show me what love is. Be my guiding star. It's easy. Take me to your heart. lighter. Feel the rhythm of the lighter, lighter. This is the rhythm of the lighter, lighter. Feel the rhythm of the lighter, lighter. This is the rhythm of the lighter, lighter. Feel the rhythm of the lighter, lighter. This is the rhythm of the lighter, lighter. Feel the rhythm of the lighter, lighter.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift. "30 seconds until minions spawn.
Back again, check it to wreck it, let's begin. Party on, party people, let me hear some noise. DC's in the house, jump, jump, rejoice. There's a party over here, a party over there. Wave your hands in the air, shake the dairy, yeah. These 3 words when you get in there, say, boom, there it is, hit me. Shake that ass for me. Oh, girl, bounce that ass, girl. Shake that ass, girl. Let's go, don't stop. Head bobbing, make you wanna get down on the dance floor. Throw your hands up in the air, it's going down Geronimo.
是人间的闹剧院，和风过去越浪漫，是情人多半贪恋，爱和情仇都好看，又让你痛不欲生，又让你身负重负，手有点头太恍惚，直到哭人笑才懂欲问青天。这人生有几何？怕这虚日苦多，我是讨一杯相思喝。倘若这回忆还从此停止着，甚至。 Sexy and I know it.
Ồ, sảng khoái quá. Trà xanh không độ, không lo căng thẳng mệt mỏi, giải nhiệt cuộc sống.
Hello everyone, welcome to another daily conversations lesson. Don't forget to repeat after us. Let's get started. Our exams will be over next Friday. Our exams will be over next Friday.
We should do something next weekend. We should do something next weekend.
Yeah. What should we do? Yeah. What should we do?
I don't know. I don't know. Do you have any ideas? Do you have any ideas?
Why don't we see a movie? Why don't we see a movie?
Sounds good to me. Sounds good to me.
Which movie should we see? Which movie should we see?
We should see The Curse 5. We should see The Curse 5.
Oh, is that a horror movie? Oh, is that a horror movie?
Yes, it is.
I hate horror movies. I hate horror movies.
How about a comedy movie? How about a comedy movie?
I don't like comedy movies either. I don't like comedy movies either.
What kind of movies do you like, Angela? What kind of movies do you like, Angela?
I like action movies. I like action movies.
Oh great. I like action movies too. Oh great. I like action movies too. We should see the new Keanu Reeves movie. We should see the new Keanu Reeves movie. I've heard that it's quite good. I've heard that it's quite good.
Okay. Let's go and see that. Okay. Let's go and see that. What will we do after the movie? What will we do after the movie?
I have a surprise for you after the movie. I have a surprise for you after the movie.
been destroyed.
What is it, Dwight? What is it, Dwight?
If I told you, it wouldn't be a surprise, would it?
Shut down.
If I told you, it wouldn't be a surprise, would it?
Shut down.
By Jennifer
An enemy
Bassett.
has been slain.
The Girl with Green Eyes. Of course, the man in the brown hat said. There are good policemen and there are bad policemen, you know. You're right, the young man said. Yes, that's very true. Isn't it, Julie? He looked at the young woman next to him. Julie didn't answer and looked bored. She closed her eyes. Julie's my wife, the young man told the man in the brown hat. She doesn't like trains. She always feels ill on trains. Oh yes, the man in the brown hat said. Now my wife, she doesn't like buses. She nearly had an accident on a bus once. It was last year. No, it wasn't. It was 2 years ago. I remember now. It was in Manchester. He told a long, boring story about his wife and a bus in Manchester. It was a hot day and the train was slow. There were 7 people in the carriage. There was the man in the brown hat, the young man and his wife Julie, a mother and 2 children, and a tall, dark man in an expensive suit. The young man's name was Bill. He had short brown hair and a happy smile. His wife Julie had long red hair and very green eyes, the colour of seawater. They were very beautiful eyes. The man in the brown hat talked and talked. He had a big red face and a loud voice. He talked to Bill because Bill liked to talk too. The man in the brown hat laughed a lot, and when he laughed, Bill laughed too. Bill liked talking and laughing with people. The 2 children were hot and bored. They didn't want to sit down. They wanted to be noisy and run up and down the train. Now sit down and be quiet, their mother said. She was a small woman with a tired face and a tired voice. I don't want to sit down, the little boy said. I'm thirsty. Here, have an orange, his mother said. She took an orange out of her bag and gave it to him. I want an orange too, the little girl said loudly. All right, here you are, said her mother. Eat it nicely now. The children ate their oranges and were quiet for a minute. Then the little boy said, I want a drink. I'm thirsty. The tall, dark man took out his newspaper and began to read. Julie opened her eyes and looked at the back page of his newspaper. She read about the weather in Budapest and about the football in Liverpool. She wasn't interested in Budapest, and she didn't like football. But she didn't want to listen to Bill and the man in the brown hat. Talk, 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 she thought. Bill never stops talking. Then suddenly, she saw the tall man's eyes over the top of his newspaper. She could not see his mouth, but there was a smile in his eyes. Quickly, she looked down at the newspaper and read about the weather in Budapest. The train stopped at Dawlish Station, and people got on and got off. There was a lot of noise. "Is this our station?" the little girl asked. She went to the window and looked out. "No, it isn't. Now sit down," her mother said. "We're going to Penzance," the little girl told Bill, "for our holidays." "Yes," her mother said. "My sister's got a little hotel by the sea. We're staying there. It's cheap, you see." "Yes," the man in the brown hat said. "It's a nice town. I know a man there. He's got a restaurant in King Street. A lot of holiday people go there. He makes a lot of money in the summer." He laughed loudly. "Yes," he said again. "You can have a nice holiday in Penzance." "We're going to St. Austell," Bill said. "Me and Julie. It's our first holiday. Julie wanted to go to Spain, but I like St. Austell. I always go there for my holidays. It's nice in August. You can have a good time there too." Julie looked out of the window. "Where is Budapest?" she thought. "I want to go there. I want to go to Vienna, to Paris, to Rome, to Athens." Her green eyes were bored and angry. Through the window, she watched the little villages and hills of England. The man in the brown hat looked at Julie. "You're right," he said to Bill. "You can have a good time on holiday in England. We always go to Brighton, me and the wife. However, we went one night and it rained every day, morning, afternoon and night. It's true, it never stopped raining." He laughed loudly. "We nearly went home after the first week." Bill laughed too. "What did you do all day then?" he asked. Julie read about the weather in Budapest for the third time. Then she looked at the tall man's hands. They were long, brown hands, very clean. Nice hands, she thought. He wore a very expensive Japanese watch. Japan, she thought. I'd like to go to Japan. She looked up and saw the man's eyes again over the top of his newspaper. This time, she did not look away. Green eyes looked into dark brown eyes for a long, slow minute. After Newton Abbot Station, the guard came into the carriage to look at their tickets. "Now then," he said, "where are we all going?" "This train's late," the man in the brown hat said. 20 minutes late by my watch. 10 minutes, the guard said. That's all. He smiled at Julie. The tall, dark man put his newspaper down, found his ticket, and gave it to the guard. The guard looked at it. "You're all right, sir," he said. "The boat doesn't leave Plymouth before 6 o'clock. You've got lots of time." The tall man smiled, put his ticket back in his pocket, and opened his newspaper again. Julie didn't look at him. A boat, she thought. He's taking a boat from Plymouth. Where's he going? She looked at him again with her long green eyes. He read his newspaper and didn't look at her, but his eyes smiled. The train stopped at Totnes station and more people got on and off. "Everybody's going on holiday," Bill said. He laughed. "It's going to be wonderful. No work for 2 weeks. It's a nice, quiet town, St. Austell. You can stay in bed in the mornings and sit and talk in the afternoons and have a drink or two in the evenings. Hey, Julie?" He looked at his wife. "Are you all right, Julie?" "Yes, Bill," she said quietly. "I'm okay." She looked out of the window again. The train went more quickly now, and it began to rain. Bill and the man in the brown hat talked and talked. Bill told a long story about 2 men and a dog, and the man in the brown hat laughed very loudly. "That's a good story," he said. "I like that. You tell it very well. Do you know the story about..." And he told Bill a story about a Frenchman and a bicycle. Why do people laugh at these stories? Julie thought. They're so boring. But Bill liked it. Then he told a story about an old woman and a cat. And the man in the brown hat laughed again. That's good too. I don't know. How do you remember them all? Because, Julie thought, he tells them every day. I don't understand, the little girl said suddenly. She looked at Bill. Why did the cat die? Shh! Be quiet, her mother said. Come and eat your sandwiches now. That's all right, Bill said. I like children. The man in the brown hat looked at the children's sandwiches.
I returned to my training.
I'm hungry too, he said. You can get sandwiches in the restaurant on this train. He looked at Bill. Let's go down to the restaurant, eh? I need a drink too. Bill laughed. You're right. It's thirsty work telling stories.
I will be the best.
The two men stood up and left the carriage. The little girl ate her sandwich and looked at Julie. But why did the cat die? She asked. I don't know, Julie said. Perhaps it wanted to die. The little girl came and sat next to Julie. I like your hair, she said. It's beautiful. Julie looked down at her and smiled. For some minutes, it was quiet in the carriage. Then the tall, dark man opened his bag and took out a book. He put it on the seat next to him and looked at Julie with a smile. Julie looked back at him and then down at the book. Famous towns of Italy, she read. Venice, Florence, Rome, Naples. She looked away again, out of the window at the rain. 2 weeks in St. Austell, she thought, with Bill, in the rain. After half an hour, the 2 men came back to the carriage. "There are a lot of people on this train," Bill said. "Do you want a sandwich, Julie?" "No," she said. "I'm not hungry. You eat them." The train was nearly at Plymouth. Doors opened and people began to move. "A lot of people get on here," the man in the brown hat said. The tall, dark man stood up and put his book and his newspaper in his bag. Then he picked up his bag and left the carriage. The train stopped at the station. A lot of people got on the train, and 2 women and an old man came into the carriage. They had a lot of bags with them. Bill and the man in the brown hat stood up and helped them. One of the women had a big bag of apples. The bag broke, and the apples went all over the carriage. "Oh, damn!" she said. Everybody laughed and helped her to find the apples. The train moved away from Plymouth Station. After a minute or 2, everybody sat down, and the woman gave some apples to the children. "Where's Julie?" Bill said suddenly. "She's not here." "Perhaps she went to the restaurant," the man in the brown hat said. "But she wasn't hungry," Bill said. "She told me." The little girl looked at Bill. "She got off the train at Plymouth," she said, "with the tall dark man. I saw them." "Of course she didn't," Bill said. "She's on this train. She didn't get off." "Yes, she did," the children's mother said suddenly. "I saw her too. The tall man waited for her on the platform." "He waited for her?" Bill's mouth was open. But he read his newspaper all the time. He didn't talk to Julie, and she never talked to him. They didn't say a word. "People don't always need words, young man," the children's mother said. "But she's my wife!" Bill's face was red and angry. "She can't do that," he said loudly. He stood up. "I'm going to stop the train." Everybody looked at him, and the 2 children laughed. "No," the man in the brown hat said. "No, you don't want to do that. Sit down and eat your sandwiches, my friend." "But I don't understand. Why did she go? What am I going to do?" Bill's face was very unhappy. After a second or 2, he sat down again. "What am I going to do?" he said again. "Nothing," the man in the brown hat said. He ate his sandwich slowly. "Go and have your holiday in St. Austell. You can have a good time there. Forget about Julie. Those green eyes now." He took out a second sandwich and began to
return to my training.
To eat it. I knew a woman once with green eyes. She gave me a very bad time. No, you want to forget about Julie.
South for the winter. I never stay in one country for a long time. It gets boring. I like to move on, see new places, meet different people. It's a good life, most of the time. When I need money, I get a job. I can do most things. Hotel and restaurant work, building work, picking fruit. In Europe, you can pick fruit most of the year. You need to be in the right country at the right time, of course. It's not easy work, but the money's not bad. I like to go south in the winter. Life is easier in the sun, and Northern Europe can get very cold in the winter. Last year, 1989 it was, I was in Venice for October. I did some work in a hotel for 3 weeks. Then I began slowly to move south. I always go by train when I can. I like trains. You can walk about on a train, and you meet a lot of people. I left Venice and went on to Trieste. There, I got a cheap ticket for the slow train to Sofia, in Bulgaria. This train goes all down through Yugoslavia and takes a long time, a day and a half, but that didn't matter to me. The train left Trieste at 9 o'clock on a Thursday morning. There weren't many people on it at first, but at Zagreb more people got on. 2 girls went along the corridor, past my carriage. They looked through the door, but they didn't come in. Then an old woman came in, sat down and went to sleep. The 2 girls came back along the corridor and looked into the carriage again. The train left Zagreb, and I looked out of the window for about 10 minutes. Then I went to sleep too. When I opened my eyes again, the 2 girls were in the carriage. They looked friendly, so I said, "Hello." "Hi," they said. "You're American," I said. "Or Canadian, right?" "American," the taller girl said. She smiled. "And you're 23? Your name's Tom Walsh? You've got blue eyes? And your mum lives in Burnham-on-Sea, UK, right?" "How did you know all that?" I asked. The second girl laughed. "She looked at your passport. It's in your coat pocket." "Oh, right." My coat was on the seat next to me. I took my passport out of my pocket and put it back in my bag. "Who are you then?" I asked. They told me. Melanie and Carol from Los Angeles, USA. They liked Europe, they said. They knew a lot of places. Britain, Holland, Denmark, Germany, France, Spain, Italy, Yugoslavia, Bulgaria, Greece. "I'm going to Bulgaria now," I said, "for about a month. Then I'm going south for the winter. Cyprus Or perhaps North Africa? Oh yes, they said. We'll love Bulgaria. Sofia's a great town. Wonderful. What do you do about money? I asked. Well, you know, Carol smiled. Sometimes we get a little job, this and that. But what about you? Yeah, come on, Melanie said. Tell us about you. Tom Walsh with the blue eyes and the mum in Burnham-on-Sea. What are you doing with your life, hey? So I told them. They were nice girls. They were older than me, perhaps 27 or 28, but I liked them. We talked and laughed for hours. I told them a lot of stories about my life. Some of the stories were true, some weren't. But the girls laughed and said I was a great guy. I asked them about Bulgaria, because I didn't know the country. They knew Sofia well, they said. Hey, Carol, Melanie said. We're staying in Bela Palanka for a day or two. But let's go over to Sofia this weekend and meet Tom there. We can meet him on Saturday night at the Hotel Marmara. Yeah, it's a good hotel, Carol told me. Cheap, but good. What do you think, Tom? Great, I said. Let's do that. The train was very slow. We got to Belgrade at 6 o'clock in the evening, and a lot of people got off. There were only me and the girls in the carriage then. The guard came and looked at our tickets and went away again. Carol looked at Melanie. Hey, Mel, she said. Why don't you and Tom go along to the restaurant? I'm not hungry, and I want to sleep for an hour. Food's very expensive on the train, I said. I haven't got much money just now. I'm going to get a job in Sofia. Oh, Tom, Melanie said. Why didn't you tell us? Look, you're a nice guy, right? We're okay for money this week. We can buy you a meal. Of course we can, Carol said. And look, in Sofia, we can take you to the best restaurant in town. It's a great place. We love it. What could I say? I was hungry. They had money. I didn't. So Melanie and I went to the restaurant and had a meal. When we came back, Carol was still alone in the carriage. Melanie put her feet on the seat and went to sleep. At Nice, some more people got on the train, and 2 old men came into our carriage. They looked at Melanie's feet on the seat and talked in loud voices. Carol laughed, and Melanie opened her eyes and sat up. Are we nearly there? She asked Carol and looked out of the window. Yeah, about half an hour, I think. Why are you getting off at Bela Palanka? I asked. What are you going to do there? Melanie smiled. Find a cheap hotel, meet people, take a look at the town, you know. Just for a day or two, Carol said. But there's nothing there. Oh, well, you never know, Melanie laughed. See you in Sofia, right? On Saturday night. The Hotel Marmara, okay? 8 o'clock, Carol said. Don't forget now. Okay, great, I said. See you there. The train came into Bela Palanka and stopped. The 2 girls got off and stood on the platform. They smiled at me through the window. Saturday, 8 o'clock, Melanie shouted. OK, I called. They couldn't hear me because of the noise in the station. They smiled again, picked up their bags and walked away. Nice girls. I'm going to have a great time in Sofia, I thought. The train left Yugoslavia and crossed into Bulgaria at 2 o'clock in the morning. Then the train stopped at some village. I don't remember the name. I ate an apple and looked out of the window. Suddenly, there were a lot of policemen on the train. Everybody in the carriage sat up and began to talk. "What's happening?" I said in Italian to the old man next to me. "I don't know," he said in bad Italian. "Perhaps they're looking for somebody. Look, the police are taking some people off the train." Then 2 policemen came into our carriage, a tall, thin one and a short, fat one. They looked at everybody carefully. And then they looked at me again. "Come with us, please," the fat policeman said in English. "What, me?" I said. "Why? What's the matter?" "And bring your bag with you," the tall policeman said. I began to ask a question, but policemen never like questions from young men with long hair. So I stayed quiet, picked up my bag, and went with them. In the station building, there were a lot more policemen and some people from the train. They were all young people, I saw. Some were afraid, some were bored. The police looked in everybody's bags, and then the people went back to the train. My 2 policemen took me to a table. "Your passport, please," the fat policeman said, "and open your bag." They looked at my passport, and I opened my bag. There was a young policewoman with red hair at the next table. She had a nice face, so I smiled at her, and she smiled back. "Aha!" the tall policeman said suddenly. All my dirty shirts and clothes were out on the table. The policeman picked up my bag and turned it over. Onto the table, out of my bag, fell packet after packet of US American dollars. Nice new dollars. $50 notes in big packets. A lot of money. My mouth opened and stayed open. I couldn't find my voice. I was suddenly a very interesting person, and a lot of police ran up to our table and stood behind me. 50,000, 100,000, 150,000. There's $200,000 here, the tall policeman said. "What an interesting bag, Mr. Tom Walsh." I found my voice again quickly. "But it's not my bag," I shouted. There was a big, happy smile on that policeman's face. "Well," he said, "it's got your name on it. Look." So I looked, and of course there was my name. And yes, of course, it was my bag. So how did $200,000 US get into my bag? "You cannot bring US dollars into this country," the fat policeman said. He had very short grey hair and little black eyes. He didn't smile once. "But I didn't bring them," I said quickly. "They're not my dollars. I never saw them before in my life, and..." There was a lot of noise in the station. I looked out of the window and saw my train. Slowly, it began to move. "Hey!" I shouted. "That's my train!" The tall policeman laughed. It was a great day for him. "Oh no," he said. "You're not getting back on that train. You're staying here with us, in our beautiful country." He smiled happily. So, I never got to Sofia on Saturday. I was very unhappy about that. I wanted to have a little talk with Melanie and Carol. Ask them 1 or 2 questions, you know. "You're a nice guy, Tom. See you in Sofia, okay? Take you to the best restaurant in town. Yeah, great." And I never got down to Cyprus or North Africa that winter. Oh well, I live and learn. It's not an easy life in prison, but it's warm in winter, and the food's not bad. And I'm meeting some interesting people. There's a man from Georgia, USSR. Boris, his name is. He comes from a place by the Black Sea. He's a great guy. When we get out of here, he and I are going down to Australia. Brisbane, perhaps, or Sydney. Get a job on a ship. Start a new life. Yeah, next year's going to be okay.
Mr. Harris and the Night Train. Mr. Harris liked trains. He was afraid of aeroplanes and didn't like buses. But trains, they were big and noisy and exciting. When he was a boy of 10, he liked trains. Now he was a man of 50, and he still liked trains. So he was a happy man on the night of the 14th of September. He was on the night train from Helsinki to Oulu in Finland, and he had 10 hours in front of him. "I've got a book and my newspaper," he thought, "and there's a good restaurant on the train. And then I've got 2 weeks' holiday with my Finnish friends in Oulu." There weren't many people on the train, and nobody came into Mr. Harris's carriage. He was happy about that. Most people on the train slept through the night, but Mr. Harris liked to look out of the window and to read and think. After dinner in the restaurant, Mr. Harris came back to his carriage and sat in his seat next to the window. For an hour or 2 he watched the trees and lakes of Finland out of the window. Then it began to get dark, so he opened his book and began to read. At midnight the train stopped at the small station of Ottawa. Mr. Harris looked out of the window, but he saw nobody. The train moved away from the station into the black night again. Then the door of Mr. Harris's carriage opened, and 2 people came in, a young man and a young woman. The young woman was angry. She closed the door and shouted at the man, "Carl, you can't do this to me!" The young man laughed loudly and sat down. Mr. Harris was a small, quiet man. He wore quiet clothes, and he had a quiet voice. He did not like noisy people and loud voices, so he was not pleased. "Young people are always noisy," he thought. "Why can't they talk quietly?" He put his book down and closed his eyes. But he could not sleep, because the 2 young people didn't stop talking. The young woman sat down and said in a quieter voice, "Carl, you're my brother, and I love you. But please listen to me. You can't take my diamond necklace. Give it back to me now, please." Carl smiled. "No, Elena," he said. "I'm going back to Russia soon, and I'm taking your diamonds with me." He took off his hat and put it on the seat. "Elena, listen. You have a rich husband, but I have no money. I have nothing. How can I live without money? You can't give me money, so I need your diamonds, little sister." Mr. Harris looked at the young woman. She was small, with black hair and dark eyes. Her face was white and afraid. Mr. Harris began to feel sorry for Elena. She and her brother didn't look at him once. "Can't they see me?" he thought. "Carl," Elena said. Her voice was very quiet now, and Mr. Harris listened carefully. "You came to dinner at our house tonight, and you went to my room and took my diamond necklace. How could you do that to me? My husband gave the diamonds to me. They were his mother's diamonds before that. He's going to be very, very angry, and I'm afraid of him." Her brother laughed. He put his hand in his pocket, then took it out again and opened it slowly. The diamond necklace in his hand was very beautiful. Mr. Harris stared at it. For a minute or two nobody moved, and it was quiet in the carriage. There was only the noise of the train, and it went quickly on through the dark, cold night. Mr. Harris opened his book again, but he didn't read it. He watched Carl's face, with its hungry eyes and its cold smile. "What beautiful, beautiful diamonds," Carl said. "I can get a lot of money for these." "Give them back to me, Carl," Elena whispered. "My husband's going to kill me. You're my brother. Please help me. Please." Carl laughed again, and Mr. Harris wanted to hit him. "Go home, little sister," Carl said. "I'm not going to give the diamonds back to you. Go home to your angry husband." Suddenly, there was a knife in the young woman's hand, a long, bright knife. Mr. Harris watched with his mouth open. He couldn't speak or move. "Give the diamonds back to me," Elena cried, "or I'm going to kill you." Her hand on the knife was white. Carl laughed and laughed. "What a sister," he said. "What a kind, sweet sister. No, they're my diamonds now. Put your knife away, little sister." But the knife in the white hand moved quickly, up, then down. There was a long, terrible cry, and Carl's body fell slowly onto the seat. The colour of the seat began to change to red, and the diamond necklace fell from Carl's hand onto the floor. Elena's face was white. "Oh, no," she whispered. "Carl, come back. Come back. I didn't want to kill you." But Carl didn't answer, and the red blood ran slowly over the floor. Elena put her head in her hands, and again in the carriage there was a long, terrible cry. Mr. Harris's face was white too. He opened his mouth, but he couldn't speak. He stood up and carefully moved to the door. The young woman was quiet now. She didn't move or look up at Mr. Harris. In the corridor, Mr. Harris ran. The guard was at the back of the train, and Mr. Harris got there in half a minute. "Quickly," Mr. Harris said. "Come quickly. An accident. A young woman. Oh dear. Her brother he's dead." The guard ran with Mr. Harris back to the carriage. Mr. Harris opened the door, and they went inside. There was no dead body of a young man. There was no young woman. No blood. No knife. No diamond necklace. Only Mr. Harris's bags and his hat and coat. The guard looked at Mr. Harris, and Mr. Harris looked at him. "But," Mr. Harris began, "but they were here. I saw them. She, the young woman, she had a knife, and she killed her brother." "A knife, you say?" the guard asked. "Yes," Mr. Harris said quickly. "A long knife. And her brother took her diamonds, so she—" "Ah, diamonds," the guard said. "Was the young woman's name Elena?" he asked. "Yes, it was," Mr. Harris said. "How do you know that? Do you know her?" "Yes, and no," the guard said slowly. He thought for a minute, then looked at Mr. Harris. "Elena di Saronelli," he said. "She had dark eyes and black hair. Very beautiful. She was half Italian, half Finnish. Her brother was a half-brother. They had the same father, but his mother was Russian, I think." "Was? Had?" Mr. Harris stared at the guard. "But she, Elena, she's alive. And where is she?" "Oh, no," said the guard. "Elena di Saronelli died about 80 years ago. After she killed her brother with a knife, she jumped off the train and died at once. It was near here, I think." He looked out of the window into the night. Mr. Harris's face was very white again. 80 years ago?" he whispered. "What are you saying? Was she and her brother—" "But I saw them." "Yes, that's right," the guard said. "You saw them, but they're not alive. They're ghosts. They often come on the night train at this time in September. I never see them, but somebody saw them last year. A man and his wife. They were very unhappy about it. But what can I do? I can't stop Elena and Carl coming on the train." The guard looked at Mr. Harris's white face. "You need a drink," he said. "Come and have a vodka with me." Mr. Harris didn't usually drink vodka, but he felt afraid. When he closed his eyes, he could see again Elena's long knife and could hear her terrible cry. So he went with the guard to the back of the train. After the vodka, Mr. Harris felt better. He didn't want to sleep, and the guard was happy to talk. So Mr. Harris stayed with the guard and didn't go back to his carriage. "Yes," the guard said. "It's a famous story. I don't remember it all. It happened a long time ago, of course. Elena's father was a famous man here in Finland. He was very rich once, but he had 3 or 4 wives and about 8 children. And he liked the good things of life, so there wasn't much money for the children. Carl, the oldest son, was a bad man, people say. He wanted an easy life and money in his hand all the time." The train hurried on to Oulu through the black night, and the guard drank some more vodka. "Now, Elena," he said, "she didn't have an easy life with those 3 difficult men, her father, her brother, her husband. One year she visited her mother's family in Italy, and there she met her husband, Di Saronelli. He was rich, but he wasn't a kind man. They came back to Finland, and Carl often visited their house. He wanted money from his sister's rich husband. Elena loved her brother and gave him some money. But Di Saronelli didn't like Carl and was angry with Elena. He stopped giving her money. And after that, well, you know the story now. Yes, Mr. Harris said. Poor, unhappy Elena. Mr. Harris stayed with his friends in Oulu for 2 weeks. They were quiet weeks, and Mr. Harris had a good holiday. But he took the bus back to Helsinki. The bus was slow, and there were a lot of people on it. But Mr. Harris was very happy. He didn't want to take the night train across Finland again.
Michael Duckworth. Chapter 1. Island in the Sun. James Conway put away his business papers and sat back in his seat. He looked out of the aeroplane window down at the warm blue sea below. Far away, in the bright sun, there were the long white beaches of the island of Haiti. Behind them, he could just see the small wooden houses and the deep green leaves of the coconut trees, which were moving lazily in the soft afternoon wind. It looks beautiful, doesn't it? Conway looked at the woman sitting next to him. Very nice, he answered. Is this your first visit to Haiti? The woman asked. Yes, but I'm not here as a visitor, said Conway. I have a building company. It's called Conway Construction. My company has offices all over the world. America, Europe, Africa. We're very big in Australia, too. Everyone in Australia has heard the name Conway. I'm coming to get an office here, buy some land, build a few hotels, you know. The land is very cheap here. You can buy a piece of land to build a small town on for a few $1,000s. Sorry, I don't know your name. I'm Mr. Conway, James Conway. Just call me Conway. I'm Karen Jackson. Nice to meet you, Karen. What do you do? Have you got a job, or are you married? I'm at Harvard University. From the university? Are you a secretary there? No, I'm a doctor. I'm teaching medicine. A doctor? That's interesting. What are you doing here in Haiti? Are you on holiday? I know you teachers get long holidays. Karen Jackson was beginning to dislike the man. No, she said. I'm going to work in the hospital at Port-au-Prince. And while I'm here, I'm going to do some work for my book. Are you writing a book? What is it about? Voodoo. Voodoo? Laughed Conway. Are you telling me that someone is paying you to come here and write about voodoo? I know Haiti is not America, but voodoo? I thought people stopped believing in that years ago. Oh, no, said Karen. People still believe in it. You see, it works, and it can be very dangerous. Surely, you don't believe in voodoo, do you? Yes, I do. We don't really understand voodoo in America. Most people think it's magic. They think it can kill people. That's right. I remember hearing about it. People who use voodoo get a picture of a person or make a doll, don't they? Then they put pins or knives into it, and the person feels terrible pain. Yes, that's right, Karen answered. I have a photograph here in one of my books about voodoo. Look, there's one of the dolls. It's not a child's doll. It's made from coconuts. You see, the face is a coconut, and someone has drawn eyes, a nose, and a mouth on it. And look, there's a pin in the doll's stomach. A few days later, the man came to hospital because his stomach hurt. He knew that someone was using voodoo against him. The pain was terrible, but the doctors couldn't find anything wrong with him. In the end, he died. Conway was surprised. "So you think that was magic because there was no reason for it?" he said. "But you're a doctor, aren't you? You don't believe in magic, do you?" "Voodoo is more than magic. I don't believe in magic, but I know that voodoo can be very dangerous. I want to understand how it works. Here in Haiti, there are still a few people who know how to use voodoo. They are called Hoongans. There are still a few Hoongans in the villages in the country, and that's why I'm here. I want to meet some of them and talk to them. Of course, they aren't all bad people. They can use voodoo to help people, like doctors. But they can use it to hurt people, too." "But we're living in the modern world." "Yes, but the people here are very sure that voodoo is real. Teachers, business people, doctors, everyone believes in it. Or they are afraid of it. And perhaps that's why it works. After all, if you believe you are ill, you can be ill. And if you really think you're getting better, you can get better. If you think that someone is trying to kill you, then you can die, because you are so afraid." "Well, that's a good story," laughed Conway. "If I need some voodoo, I'll come and see you." "Okay," said Karen. "Excuse me for a minute." She got up and walked to the back of the plane. She was bored and angry with Conway, because he thought he understood everything, and he never listened to other people. Chapter 2. The Book of Baron Samedi. While she was away, Conway looked at the open book on her seat. There was a picture on the page which showed a black man with open eyes and bright white teeth. He was laughing, but he looked frightening and dangerous. Conway read the words below the picture. "Baron Samedi, the strongest and most dangerous of all the voodoo Hoongans. No one knows who Baron Samedi is, but they believe he is both dead and alive. He lives in 2 different worlds. Many people are so frightened of him that they are afraid to say his name." Conway looked at the picture. "Baron Samedi," he laughed. "How can these people be so stupid? Still, it will be easy to make money if they think like children." A few minutes later, Karen came back. She picked up the book and put it in her bag. As she was sitting down, the lights in the aeroplane came on. "We are going to arrive at Port-au-Prince Airport in a few minutes. Please stay in your seats and put out your cigarettes. The time in Haiti is 3:15. It is a warm day, and it is 30 degrees centigrade. We hope you have enjoyed flying with Air Haiti, and we hope that you will fly with us again. Thank you. Down below them, in the village of Bussy, not far from Port-au-Prince, Key was in his small wooden house among the trees. Outside, a few brown chickens were trying to find something to eat in the garden. There was not much rain in the summer, and the ground was dry and dusty. The old man Key was sitting by the window in the front room. Suddenly, he felt that something was wrong. In the garden, the wind blew harder, and the dust from the dry ground flew into the air. He stood up, went to the window, and looked out. "I can feel danger," he thought. "Someone bad is coming." He looked out into the trees, but he couldn't see anything. Then he looked up at the sky and saw the plane just before it went behind a cloud on its way to Port-au-Prince airport. Chapter 3. The Building Business. After 9 months in Haiti, Conway was a happy man. His business was going well, and he was making a lot of money. He had a large office in Port-au-Prince, a big house, and hundreds of people were working for him. He had some land near Port-au-Prince, and he was building a new town. There were already hundreds of new houses, and many people knew the name Conway Construction. But Conway had a problem, and he wanted to see a business friend, Jacques Remy. The telephone on his desk rang. He picked it up. "Yes?"
"Mr. Remy is here to see you, Mr. Conway,"
said his secretary. "Send him in immediately." A few moments later, Jacques Remy came into the room. "Jacques, it's nice to see you. Thank you for coming. Sit down."
"Thanks," said Jacques. "You said on the phone that you had a problem."
"Yes," said Conway. "You helped me buy the land for the new town when I first came to Haiti. Some of the houses are ready, and people are living in them. But now I need more land."
"You can buy land anywhere,"
said Jacques. "I know, but I want a piece of land near my houses. People will need shops, and perhaps I can build a hotel, too, and some more houses."
"What piece of land do you want?"
asked Jacques. "Well, that's the problem." Conway took out a pencil and a piece of paper, and began to draw a map. "Most of the houses are here," he said. "Now, I can't build on the south or the east side of the houses because of the sea. On the north side, the land is no good. There is too much water in it. So I can only build on the west side. I can only build on this hill."
"Good," said Jacques. "Buy the hill, and then you can build more houses on the other side, too."
"I want to," said Conway, "but there's a problem." He went over to the desk and picked up a photograph. It was a photograph of a graveyard. He gave the photograph of the graveyard to Jacques. "You see? It won't be easy. I want to build on the graveyard." Jacques looked at the photograph carefully.
"It's very old," he said, "and that's good. If only a few people go there, perhaps you can buy it. But if it is new, and a lot of people go there, they will be angry, and it will be difficult to buy it. Go and look at the stones. Find out how old the place is. I'll talk to some friends. Perhaps they can help.
Thank you very much, Jack. I won't forget this.
It's nothing, said Jacques. Tell me how old the stones are, and I'll ring you again in a few days. Chapter 4. The Voodoo Man. A big lorry drove past Key's house. It was going very fast, and it made a lot of noise. Before Conway built the new town, Key's village was a quiet place. There were only a few small cars. Now big lorries went past every 5 minutes, carrying things for the new buildings. Key was a very unhappy old man. He was sitting in his small house, looking out into the garden. Another big lorry went past the window. He heard the sound of a car coming down the road. The car stopped near the house, and a woman got out. She was young and well-dressed. She walked up to the gate at the end of Key's garden and waited. Key saw her, and went out of the house, down the wooden steps, and into the garden. "Hello," she said, looking at the old man. "Can I come in?"
"Yes, of course,"
answered Key.
"What can I do for you?"
The woman opened the gate and came up to Key. "My name is Karen Jackson," she said. "Dr. Jackson. I'm an American. I'm working at the big hospital in Port-au-Prince, and I'm doing some work for my book."
"I see,"
said Key.
"But why do you want to talk to me?"
"I'm writing a book about voodoo," she said. "Everyone here talks about you. They all say you are the best Houngan in Haiti. They say you are a very strong and good Houngan, and that you always help people." Key smiled.
"I try to help good people," he said. "Come into the house, Dr. Jackson. Let me get you a drink, and we can talk."
Key and Karen went into the house and began to talk. Karen told him about her life and her work, and why she was in Haiti. Key told her about his life, and talked for a long time about the old Haiti and the people he remembered.
"Everything is changing,"
he said.
"When I was a young man, we lived with our families. We worked in the coffee fields. We helped each other. Friends were more important than money. People were good and kind. But everything is different now. Business people come from America and Europe and start banks and big companies. All the young men go to Port-au-Prince. They leave their villages and their families. They think about money all the time. They don't think about people."
"Yes, I know," said Karen. "It's happening in America, too. But you can always find good people if you look for them."
"I know,"
said Key, smiling.
"You don't have to go back yet, do you?"
"No, not yet. Why?"
"There's something that I want to show you. It's a hill outside the village. I often go there when I'm unhappy or when I want to think. It's a graveyard, but it's very beautiful there, when the warm wind blows the leaves of the coconut trees."
Chapter 5. The Graveyard. They left his house and began to walk along the road to the hill. When they arrived, they walked slowly through the graveyard. At the top of the hill, they looked down at the fields below. They could see a lot of lorries, and a lot of men were working there, building the new town. Already there were hundreds and hundreds of new houses in the field.
The village is changing very fast,
he said.
Soon there are going to be thousands and thousands of new houses. What will happen to our village then? Once it was a quiet place and the people were friendly. But soon there will be a lot of new people and busy, noisy roads. I don't want to live in a place like that.
Can't you do anything? Can't you stop them? Asked Karen.
Me? No. What can I do? Nothing. I'm an old man, and nobody listens to me.
They walked on through the graveyard, and Key said,
My grandfather is here in this graveyard. He was my mother's father. I remember the day when he died. I cried for a long time when I saw that big dark hole in the ground. And we put his body in the grave. It was raining. I was 12 years old. My mother and father were with me, and they were crying too.
I'm sorry, said Karen.
Oh, it was a long time ago,
said Key.
But my grandfather's grave was the last on this hill. After he died, they made a new graveyard on the other side of the village. That's why nobody comes here now. Nobody remembers the old people here.
But you do?
Oh, yes. I could never forget my grandfather. He taught me about voodoo, about the spirit of the rain and the spirit of the wind. You see, nothing is really dead. There's a spirit in everything, in every tree, in the sun, in the sea. If you understand voodoo, you can talk to these spirits. And there's a spirit under this cold grey stone.
Key showed her the stone on his grandfather's grave. And Karen read the words slowly. Tim Atty, born 1845, died 1906. Key looked at Karen and said quietly,
Some people say he was the strongest Hungan of all. The Hungan we call Baron Samedi.
Baron Samedi? Cried Karen. Your grandfather? Suddenly she felt afraid when she heard the terrible name. She looked at the old man.
I see you know more about voodoo than I thought, he said. But don't be afraid of me. I'm just an old man who doesn't like the new world.
He smiled at Karen again. They stayed on the hill and talked for a long time. Then Karen looked at her watch and said, What? Is that the time? I'm sorry, Key, but I must go now. I have to be at the hospital at 4 o'clock. Key got up. Don't worry, said Karen. I can find the car. It's not far. Please stay if you want to.
Are you sure?
Yes, I know how to get back.
Well, then, I think I'll stay a little longer. It was very nice to talk to you.
Thank you for talking to me, too. I've learned a lot today. I hope we'll meet again.
I hope so, too. Goodbye.
Key watched Karen as she walked down the hill. And then he saw two men. They were young, and they were carrying lots of papers. They walked around the graveyard for a short time, looking at the graves and then at the papers. Key went over to them.
Good afternoon,
he said. Good afternoon, the men replied.
What are you doing here?
Asked Key. We work for Conway Construction, they said. We're building some shops here. And a big hotel, said the other man. Key was very surprised.
What?
He said.
You can't do that here. This is a graveyard. You can't build houses and shops in a graveyard. It's a very important place.
The two men laughed at him. Don't be stupid, old man, they said. This graveyard is very old. Nobody comes here now. The people in this graveyard died 100 years ago. Key was angry.
Don't talk to me like that,
he said.
My grandfather's grave is here. You're not going to build shops and houses on this land.
One of the men said, Yes, we are. This is Mr. Conway's land. He bought it a few days ago. He's going to build shops here, and we're going to help him.
No,
said Key.
That isn't true.
It is true, replied the man. We're going to start next week. If you want to, you can go and see Mr. Conway. You can talk to him. He'll tell you it's true.
Where does he live?
Asked Key. The men gave him a small piece of paper. He looked at it. The paper said, Conway Construction, 16 Rue de la République, Port-au-Prince. Key said,
Don't begin any work here. I want to see Conway first. I'll tell him that he can't build shops here.
The two men laughed and said, Okay, old man. We'll wait for you.
Stand with me, brothers and sisters.
Chapter 6. Conway has a visitor. The next morning, Key got on the bus. He bought a ticket to Port-au-Prince. During the journey, he looked out of the window. There were new houses and offices all along the road from his village to Port-au-Prince. When he arrived, he found a taxi and gave the driver the address.
Do you know how to get there?
Asked Key.
Oh, yes,
said the taxi driver.
Mr. Conway is a big man round here. Very important. Rich, too. And they say he has a lot of friends.
I know,
said Key. He sat back in the taxi as it drove away. After a long time, they arrived at the office of Conway Construction. Key paid the taxi driver and went in. Conway's secretary, Marie, was sitting at a desk. She looked at Key.
Good afternoon,
she said.
Can I help you?
Yes,
said Key.
I want to talk to Mr. Conway.
What's your name?
The young woman asked.
Key,
he replied.
Please sit down,
Marie said. Then she picked up a telephone and talked to Conway.
There's a man here,
she said.
he wants to talk to you.
She waited for a moment and then said,
Key. Mr. Key. No, I don't know who he is. He's an old man.
Marie put down the telephone and looked at Key.
Mr. Conway is waiting for you,
she said.
Please go in.
Key walked to Conway's door and went in. Conway smiled and said, Good afternoon, Key. My name is Conway. Please sit down. Can I help you? Key was surprised. Then he said, Yes, Mr. Conway. My name is Key. I live in the village of Bussy. Do you? Said Conway. I know the village of Bussy well. It's very nice. We're building a new town there. Yes, I know, said Key. You're building some shops and a hotel there too. But you must not build them on the graveyard. It is a very important place.
We shall rest when we are dead.
Chapter 7. Conway's Hopes. Key looked at Conway. He said, I am a Hungan, and I understand voodoo. I know you come from America, and you Americans do not believe in things like that. But I can do many things that you do not understand. I will help you if you are good to me. You're very kind, said Conway, laughing at the old man. But I really don't think your voodoo can give me all the things I want in life. What do you want? I want a lot of things, said Conway. Tell me. I want to live in a big house with lots of rooms. That will not be difficult, said the old man. Oh, but I want more than that. I hate housework. I want lots of people to clean the rooms and bring me food. I want to have a lot of money in the bank. Oh, and I don't want to work. I want a lot of things, you see. All right, said Key. You can have those things. That's very kind of you, said Conway, laughing. Now I've got work to do. But Key sat quietly on his chair and smiled. I can see that you do not believe me, he said. You think I'm just an old man who doesn't want to see new shops and houses. Just wait for a few days, and you will see. I'll give you everything that you want. But you must not build shops and hotels in the graveyard. Do you understand? Yes, of course I understand, said Conway. He was beginning to get angry. I won't build shops and hotels there, and you will give me everything I want. Thank you very much for your help. Now, please, get out. I'm a busy man. Goodbye, said Key. Thank you for talking to me. But don't forget, Mr. Conway, you must not do these things. If you do, you'll be sorry. Yes, I understand. Now go, said Conway. Key turned and went to the door. For a moment, as the old man was walking out of the door, Conway remembered the face in the book on the plain. Suddenly, he felt cold and afraid.
When Key left the room, Conway picked up the telephone. He talked to Marie. He was very, very angry. "Marie," he shouted, "why did you send that man to my office? He's mad. Coming in here talking about voodoo? Telling me he's going to give me a lot of money? I don't want to see him again. Do you understand? If you make a mistake like that again, you'll lose your job."
I'm very sorry,
said Marie. "Good. Now I want to talk to Pierre and Henri. Get them on the telephone for me." He put down the telephone and sat back in his chair. "That man Key is mad," he thought. Then he started to laugh. "He thinks he can give me everything I want," he thought. "An old man from a village?" The telephone rang again. Conway picked it up. "Pierre, Henri, listen," he said. "A few minutes ago, an old man came to my office. He doesn't want any shops or houses in the graveyard. It's possible he'll try to stop us. I don't know what he can do, but perhaps he'll go to the police. Perhaps he has important friends. So, you must start building the shops and the hotel today. Take away all the stones. Cut down all the trees. You must work fast, do you understand?" Conway put down the telephone and thought, "The old man will be angry, but he isn't important. I'll finish building my town, and then I'll be a rich man." Chapter 8. The Spirit of the Wind and the Rain. For many weeks, Key did not go back to the graveyard. He thought, "I'm happy that I went to see Conway. He's a good man. He's not going to build shops and houses in the graveyard. The people in the graveyard are dead, but their spirits are not dead. The spirits will help him. The spirits will give him everything he wants. The spirit of the wind will bring him good luck, and the spirit of the rain will make him happy." But one afternoon, Key went back to the graveyard again. There were no trees. There were no stones. There were no graves. But there were a lot of men in the graveyard. They were from Conway Construction, and they were building the shops and the hotel. When Key saw what was happening, he became terribly angry. His face went white, and his hands began to shake. Key ran up to the men and said, "What's happening? Why are you building here in the graveyard?" The men laughed at him and said,
Go away, old man. This isn't a graveyard anymore. We're building shops for the new town. Go back to your village and be quiet."
Night came, and the village was very quiet. Key was alone outside his house. In the garden there was a small fire, and the yellow and orange flames danced in the dark, throwing strange black shapes across the ground. Key took a stick and drew a circle in the ground. He walked round and round the circle, singing a strange song. A long way away,
He could hear the sound of some dogs howling at the night sky. Key began to talk very quietly. He said,
Spirit of the wind, Spirit of the rain, listen to me and help. His name is Conway. I saw him a few weeks ago. He said some things to me, but they were not true. Conway is building the shops and hotels in the graveyard. When I saw him, I said, I will give you everything you want. Now, I need your help, because the things I say are always true. I do not want to give him everything he wants, but I must. That is the law of the Hungan. But something bad must happen to him too. Spirit of the wind, Spirit of the rain, help me, help.
When Key finished, a cold wind began to blow. It blew through the village, and then the trees began to move in the wind. There were clouds in the sky, and it began to rain. Soon, the wind and the rain came to Port-au-Prince. Conway was getting ready to go to bed. Then the wind began to blow, and he began to feel cold and afraid. He looked out of the window. It was very dark, and there were a lot of clouds in the sky. He picked up his clock and put it by his bed because he had to wake up at 7 o'clock. Then he turned off the light. Just before he went to sleep, he could hear the wind and the rain in the garden, and he thought for a moment that he could see the face of an old man at the window. He did not sleep well that night. All night he had bad dreams, terrible dreams. In his dreams he saw Key's grandfather and all the other spirits from the graveyard. He was very frightened of the spirits, and they ran after him in his dreams. He saw their white faces and felt their cold hands. He could hear strange music coming from behind dark trees, and could hear people screaming and laughing and shouting out his name. Ring! It was 7 o'clock. Conway looked at his clock and got out of bed. He brushed his teeth. He was very tired after his bad night, but he washed his face with cold water, and he began to feel much better. He soon forgot about his dreams of Key and the graveyard. He got dressed, and then had some breakfast and opened his letters. At 8 o'clock he got in his car and went to the office. Marie was not there, so he opened the doors and made a cup of coffee. He went into his office and sat down. He was sitting behind the big desk in his office when the telephone rang. Ring! Conway woke up. He was in bed. He looked around the room. What's happening? He thought. Where am I? He picked up his clock. It was 7 o'clock. Conway thought, that was a dream again. In my dream, I got up and went to the office. But it was only a dream, and I'm still at home. How strange. I thought I was at the office. Conway got dressed and went to the office. When he went in, Marie was sitting at her desk.
Good morning, Marie, he said.
Good morning, Mr. Conway, she said. How are you?
I'm fine, he said. But I had a strange dream last night. In my dream, I woke up and came to the office. Then I woke up and I was at home.
Well, she said, you're here now. This time you're not dreaming.
Conway went into his office and started to work. There was a knock on the door. "Come in," said Conway. An old man came into the office. He looked at Conway and started laughing. "Hello, Conway," said the old man. "Do you know my name?" Conway looked at the old man and felt afraid. He knew the face. But where was it from? Whose face was it? Was it from the dream? Or was it from a picture in a book? Was it the face from Karen Jackson's book? "I am Key's grandfather," the old man said. And then he began to laugh and scream like a man who was mad. Suddenly the telephone rang. Ring! Conway woke up. He looked round the room. He was in bed. He looked at his clock. It was 7 o'clock in the morning. He thought, I was dreaming again. But what's happening now? Am I sleeping or am I awake? He was very frightened now. He got up and went to the bathroom to wash his face. He looked into the mirror and screamed. In front of him, in the mirror, there was the head of a dead man. There were no eyes and no nose, just deep black holes. A long, thin red snake was moving slowly in and out of the holes. The snake looked at him with its two small, cold eyes, and moved through the open mouth and went round and round the neck and stopped. Then suddenly the head came alive. It had bright white teeth, there were fires in the eyes, and it began to laugh and scream. Then Conway remembered the face. In front of him was the face of Key's grandfather, the face of the terrible voodoo Hungan, Baron Samedi, laughing at him. Ring! Conway woke up again. He was in bed. He looked at the clock. It was 7 o'clock. He started screaming. Chapter 9. Voodoo Law. A few weeks later, Key was in the garden outside his house. The village was quiet, and there were no lorries or cars. It was early evening, and Key was giving the chickens some food as the sun went down. He heard a car coming along the road. He stopped and looked up. Karen Jackson stopped the car outside the gate and got out. Key went over to meet her. "Karen," he said, "come in. It's very nice to see you again." "Thank you," she said. They went into the house, and Key gave her a drink. They sat down and talked for a short time. Is something wrong? Asked Key. You look worried, unhappy.
Yes, I am, said Karen. That's why I'm here. I want to ask you something.
Yes? What is it?
Well, there's someone in the hospital who is very sick. We don't know what to do. Can you come to the hospital and help us?
Key laughed. American doctors don't usually ask old men for help.
Karen said, I know, but you're not an ordinary old man. You're different.
All right. I'll come, but I don't know if I can help.
You're very kind. When can you come? Asked Karen.
Now, if you want. I'm not doing anything important.
Thank you, said Karen. You're very kind. I've got a car. I can take you there. Karen and Key drove out of the small village, down the road, and soon came to the houses of the new town. They passed the hill, but she did not turn to look at the graveyard. There were a lot of lorries at the side of the road. Karen looked at the names on the side of the lorries. Conway Construction. They're building a lot more houses here too, aren't they? Said Karen.
They were,
said Key. They did not talk any more on the way to the hospital. When they arrived, Karen drove into the doctor's car park and stopped the car. She got out and came round to open Key's door. Then they walked up to the front door of the large hospital. The glass doors opened and they went in. As they walked through the hospital, Key noticed the strange smell, the clean white walls, and the big glass doors. When they came to the desk, the nurse said hello to Karen. She went round the desk to look in a book. Room 473, she said, looking at Key. It's this way. They walked to the lift and went up to the 4th floor. The doors opened and Karen took Key to the room. There was a small window in the door of the room. Karen stopped. Look, she said. Key looked through the small window into the room. There were no tables or chairs in the room, and there were no other windows. Next to the wall, there was a bed. Key looked at the man in the bed. It was Conway. He was wearing a big white coat, and he was screaming. While Key was looking at the man, Karen explained. His name is Conway. James Conway. It's strange. When I came to Haiti, we were on the same plane. He sat next to me. He wanted to start a business and make money. I didn't like him very much, I can tell you. But he wasn't mad. Look at him now. He's mad. And we don't know why. He doesn't talk to anyone. And he starts screaming when he hears a telephone or a bell ringing. He's afraid of sleeping, too. And we can't do anything for him. Some of the nurses are saying he's like that because of voodoo.
Perhaps the nurses are right, said Key.
Then he thought for a moment and began to smile. "Can you help him?" asked Karen.
"I'm sorry,"
said Key.